It's March, and you know what that means. The madness is coming. As the regular season winds down in college basketball, I'm joined by Blake Snetman and Emmanuel Tobe to discuss our Power 5 conference tournament predictions. So guys, first and foremost, the conference with 3 top 5 teams in first, second, and third, the ACC. Blake, who's winning the ACC tournament?
I have to go with the Duke Blue Devils. For me, this is really a no-brainer. Yes, they just recently lost to North Carolina, and it was a home game for them. But the power of players that they have, I just can't see how they're not going to win this conference tournament. Zion Williamson by himself, he's an animal.
So we're assuming Zion's going to play then, right?
I think so. They apparently, according to reports, is not going to be out for very long. And I think they just don't want to risk getting him injured anymore.
Oh, yeah, I agree 100%. I have Duke. I mean, you talk about Zion Williamson, but let's also talk about how R.J. Barrett had stepped up this week with Zion gone. This week, he's averaging 31 points a game, 5 assists, 9 rebounds. Like, he has really stepped up, and that whole team has stepped up against Tennessee, in their last game. So, ultimately, looking at how they have all stepped up. Against Chapel Hill, yes, they lost when Zion went down, but right when Zion went down, they didn't seem prepared. They didn't seem ready for that moment. Right. But now, if Zion's gone, no matter how many times, Coach K will get them ready for that.
Yeah. Zion, a big part of Duke's offense, and I think they're definitely a 1 seed if they win this ACC tournament, right? All right, next is a conference with 3 teams in the top 15. Not as impressive, but still impressive. The Big Ten. Who's winning that?
I like Purdue. They've had a tough schedule, but the thing about Purdue is that they find ways to win games. According to ESPN BPI, Purdue currently ranks in the top 5 in terms of toughest schedules. And they have played some really tough games this year. And like I said, they find ways to win. I mean, right now you have the sharpshooter duo of Carson Edwards, who's struggling a little bit, but I believe that he'll find his stroke when the tournament comes.
Currently second in the conference. Blake, who you got?
Yeah, so my team is Michigan State. They did have a tough stretch in the middle of January. One of the losses was to Purdue. But recently they beat Ohio State, beat Wisconsin, and put the cherry on top, they beat Michigan. And I'm feeling this late season push, and I think they're going to win that conference championship.
I like Michigan, but one thing real quick that I'm worried about Michigan is fatigue and injuries.
Michigan State?
I'm sorry, yes. I'm sorry, but I'm worried about fatigue and injuries. They have a tough schedule coming up, good amount of injuries. I'm kind of worried about that team.
All right, so the Pac-12 will go out west. Washington, Arizona State, Oregon State, the top 3. Like, who is winning that conference tournament?
So for the Pac-12, I have Washington winning. They're 13-1 in conference play this year. Their only team that I'm worried about beating them is Arizona State, which they lost this season 75-63. But overall, I'm not really worried about them. They're 22-5 on the season. As I said, only 1 loss in the conference. I'm pretty sure that they're going to sweep the conference tournament.
I agree 100%. And we talked about that game against Arizona State where Arizona State won, but they had to shoot over 60% as well as all 5 of their starters scored 66 points combined for them to beat Washington. No one else can beat this team except for Arizona State, and that's only when they're scoring really well.
Season for Washington already this season. So the Big 12, another conference with the top 3 teams, all in the top 20. Who is winning the Big 12 tournament?
I really like Kansas, and I know that a lot of people are thinking, Texas Tech, Kansas. I know there's a lot of competition with this Big 12 division. But I really like Kansas, and I really like the way that they're playing right now, except for the game against Texas Tech. But this team is playing with a chip on their shoulder. They have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to play well.
No, I don't agree with that. I like your points, Manny. However, I think Texas Tech is going to win this conference tournament. Typically, we do see Kansas being that powerhouse. However, this year, I just don't see it. Texas Tech did end up beating Kansas. They didn't just beat; they destroyed Kansas earlier this season. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah, but speaking of numbers, let me quote Chris Beard real quick when he said, "If we shoot the ball like we did this game," he said this after the Kansas game, "we can beat any team," and that's true. Look at how they shot. They shot 16 3-pointers that game.
I know, man. I'm sorry. Last conference, the SEC. 3 good teams at the top of that conference. Quickly, SEC, who's got it?
I have LSU. They did have 2 losses in the last 15 games, combined 6 points between the 2 losses. They recently beat Tennessee and Kentucky. I don't know, they had a tough start to the season where they actually went unranked at one point.
With that, Emmanuel?
No, I have Kentucky. Speaking of teams that are playing hot right now, they've won 13 of their last 14 games. They're limiting teams to 38% shooting and 60 points a game.
All right, we are flying, guys. Thank you so much. That's all the time we have for the hardwood. When we come back, Andrew will be joined by Drew and Zach to pitch to Bryce Harper.